allows his other tanks to do their job when he's able to create space like that. So I think that this is just the meta for them.
It's not a bad meta to have because it's pretty darn good. And they're just coming out with Zen Go. I mean, not too much of a surprise here, but on the other side, Derek has gone back to the Sombra. We saw it on Busan, didn't see it on King's Row. It didn't work. It worked and it didn't work for them, Necra. So they're going to try it here again.
Yeah, and so the thing with the Sombra is that this team composition requires you to get a crucial hack onto somebody on square one, and then that would be the go signal for the rest of Underwater Squad to kind of move in and attack when you don't have some sort of shield up or damage mitigation with Hot Date. We'll see what happens.
Well, this team's pushing up on the high ground, but Reptile is going to fall right at the beginning, so no hack ends up coming out in time for his team to take advantage, and they lose 2 players. So now they're kind of stuck here in that back room. They're going to have to wait for their respawners. Panic's just going to go and say, you know what, I'm going to get my life gone by just going on to the point and making you kill me.
Right, and the rest of the team for Underwater Squad is going to have to back off. That was probably the best reset that Panic could have done in that instance. And look at how much ult charge he already got. He's outpacing Ultraviolet right now, which means that he's going to have that Transcendence up at key moments, especially because Jolf is coming up on that Earth Shatter as well.
Derek is very close to the EMP, so a dry push isn't too bad, especially if Derek gets a kill in the backline onto Ultraviolet. So now you can force your way in. You block Jolf's ultimate, rally out by Big Al to try and swing this back. So even though you had that pick in the backline, you end up not getting anything from it except for a few ults, but those are important ults.
Those are important ultimates. Now that you've got that EMP online, so taking out Ultraviolet immediately was a great start to the next team fight, and you can see that Derek's gonna use it just to solo ult.
Oh, he solo ult Ultraviolet in the backline. He got caught out and used it. So now his team is coming back towards the point. Can they actually take advantage of it, though? It looks like they're kind of scrambling right now for Underwater Squad. Rally gets used right into a Graviton Surge. That can't get eaten because there's no Diva, so you can throw those out with no problem. Now the charge into Jolf by Baboon. He uses his Earth Shatter, and Dove goes down, so now you don't have your damage-dealing Zarya, and Baboon can just keep swinging freely in, and this is now starting to be a situation where you can actually turn this around if you're the attacking team, but the sound barrier being committed tells me that they don't want to give this up so easily. Pekal gets caught in the grab, but now you're just scrambling right now. If you're Underwater Squad, you have the spawn advantage, but you haven't gotten your respawners back. So you need an Icy to at least stay alive, and he's starting to do so, and they're going to turn this around.
Ooh, are they going to turn this around?
I'm sorry, so they're going to get this on, they're going to turn this around on the attack.
I was going to say, it did look like for a couple of moments there that Jolf ended up getting a pick that might stall for enough time for Square One to kind of come back and contest. But Derek found the right targets, and it wasn't a solo ultimate. He ended up getting Ultraviolet as well as Angelic, so Angelic wasn't able to speed back to point in order to keep the rest of the team alive. So as soon as Ultraviolet went down, so did that Lucio, but Underwater Squad's looking to be able to snowball this year, utilize that aggression and pressure to be able to push to point B.
And they have the EMP, so it's all about who Derek gets with that ultimate. They use their sound barrier right at the beginning. They don't get the Transcendence. Ultraviolet used it before the EMP came out, so great reaction timing from Ultraviolet. And then theirs is even bigger that comes out from Dove, who made that switch over. The only problem is, though, is they haven't been able to take advantage of it. So now Underwater Squad is in control of the point, and Dove is able to just be blanked, no problem, by Reptile. They're already up to 2 ticks. They're going to wait for their spawners to come back to try and come back in. Self-destruct thrown right into the middle of the point. Transcendence by Panic to make sure everybody stays alive. Grab 2 supports with the Graviton Surge, and you can turn this fight in your favor still if you're the offense. You're so close to finishing this up. Just have to take care of Dove and Hot Date. Dove recalls, but is still in a spot to contest for a moment, but can't get back on. And Underwater Squad, they get a decent time bank after that first points that was really tough for them to take.
So that first point, though, that their patience really paid off. They had to wait for Derek to get that EMP online and find the right targets, and they absolutely did that. With the supports, without their toolkits, they're not as useful as they really need to be able to make that composition work. And then when Underwater Squad ended up moving into point B. Dove had switched over to that Sombra, and that Sombra had EMP, but once Underwater Squad took out Jolf, the damage was gone from square one. There was no real way to follow up on that massive EMP that Dove was able to get onto Underwater Squad. The numbers were just too far into Underwater's favor.
Yeah, especially like you said, you don't have your damage dealer because obviously Dove switching over to the Sombra takes away your Zarya, who's, when you're talking about a Zenyatta
Yeah.
goes come, is the biggest damage dealer on the team. So they're already gone. And if your main tank is gone, who's your Reinhardt, your two big damage dealers out of the picture, really easy for that composition to win if you still have your Reinhardt and your pretty much the rest of the team that was up.
Yeah, well, especially if you're going to be highlighter charged like Derek was at that very last point. We did see Derek switch off after he utilized that EMP, and he was able to get basically 100 charge when he came back in for as reinforcements for Underwater Squad to take that second point. So now Square One's going to be fighting up a hill here on one map that we talked about before as being maybe their weak link here.
Well, they scout out that it's a Zenyatta Goats comp, so they're just going to say, you know what? We think we're the better Zen Goats team, so we're okay with this matchup. And they've shown that they're a really good Zen Goats team already up until this point. They do, of course, have to continue winning, though, with it here on this Assault map type, where, again, they've drawn on this map type, and then Escort, they've had their only map loss. So they are into the back end where they have had the most trouble. They push on to the point here with Jolf leading the way. Baboon kind of getting in towards that back line, has to regroup with his team. He's able to stay alive, and he finds a target in Big Al with the fire strike. So Underwater Squad in control at the beginning. They're giving up a little bit here, but Derek gets booped off by Angelic. It might not be enough to turn this around, but still, losing a high charge Zarya, never a good thing. You need to try and get Dove.
Yeah, you do need to try to get Dove, and Dove's actually going to get taken out as well. So now this is going to be stability for Underwater Squad. They can wait for some of their respawns to get back. Reptile going as quickly as they can to be able to get the reinforcements necessary for Square One's inevitable push onto point A.
They're probably just going to give up some until they can regroup as 6. So
yeah.
It'll give both teams an opportunity to get in 6v6. So Ultimate's, of course, in favor of the defending team. You have Icy with the self-destruct and Kevin coming in with the rally. So Baboon on the point first. Derek pushing in as well. They will use the self-destruct. It'll corral Jolf into that area where the small health pack is. That'll allow for Big Al to get shattered, but there was no follow-up because Transcendence came out on the other side. And now you have everybody corralled in where the large health pack is. Try and get away from that self-destruct. They just barely do. And now the grabs are coming out. And while that happens, everybody gets caught. They're going to be able to push right on for Square One. The respawners aren't going to be able to get back in time.
Oh my gosh, and they're just running away from Derek in panic right now in full force. And this might just be what Square One needs in order to finish this map out with even a larger time bank than what Underwater Squad did. That was amazing. I can't wait to break that down later.
Oh, but Kevin eliminates Jolf at the beginning, so that's a pretty good start for the defense, and they do end up taking advantage. Hot Date getting 2, and Dove following up with a 3rd. So they are, or sorry, the offense is going to be able to turn this around. Excuse me, getting my colors mixed up. Self-destruct thrown high into the air, and Hot Date now, and Jolf not able to get back here, and now will get caught in the ground, but it's okay because his team is still winning this fight. Kevin makes the switch over to the Wrecking Ball. Baboon has to try and get on, but can't, and you have a way bigger time bank coming on for Square One.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it is bigger, but it's actually not that much larger in terms of just what you can get done in a minute and 20 seconds. But it's still, when you have time in your favor, that's definitely a good thing. It might be even one more try to be able to make something happen. But wow, what happened on round 2 of Volskaya? Let's break that down a little bit while these teams are getting set up. We saw that Jolf ended up getting quarantined into that mini pack room right by point A. And then all of a sudden, Square One got aggressive and they bullied Underwater Squad into the other small room that we have on this point. So it just meant that, they really had some trouble being able to fight back. And the Gravitons came out where Underwater Squad was completely off the point after already giving up so much tick percentage on that first point. It was just up to Square One to be able to take it and then run away from their enemies.
It's unfortunate too, because if they were cognizant of the time, and if just one member was on there and not in the grab, or just the grab ends up happening on the point, they have a better chance of putting up a defense on that second point. But because of that, they don't, and now they're in a position where they have to have 2 quick takes here and put the pressure back on Square One. Square One, though, this is right where they want to be. Try and get the 3-0 win, and then just try to get an extra map win if you can. Deciding to go over to the other high ground here. They see that positioned on the high ground is Square One, is Underwater Squad. So Underwater Squad go where the large health pack is. Dove just kind of thinking maybe that Derek is somewhere there, who's on the Sombra again. Haven't been able to find him. Because Derek will look for the opportunity to throw that hack onto someone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is still it's a patient comp. Remember that we saw that Underwater Squad needed to take their time in order to have this pay off. And it did, but not without significant time off of the clock. So I really am hoping that they're able to get that EMP online, because that's really the activator for making this comp work.
And Derek has to go so far away to get a health back, too. Has to go back by where that large health pack is. And because of that, just knowing the timing of when the translocator was used, they're able to push in because they know that the DPS player is gone. So now Derek sure is behind and is trying to build that ultimate, but he's not able to help his team, who falls, and now they're going to have to go back to spawn and try and get back.
But it does look like, based on the amount of charge that Derek has gotten every single team fight, we might be able to see an EMP later on in this fight if he is able to get the damage onto Dove that he's looking to get.
Already up to 80%, so like you said, very close for Derek, who is trying to flank around and get that last bit of percentage. Baboon blocks the shatter that came through. Big Alvo is still able to take Icy down. So you've lost your main damage dealer in this composition. Derek is in the back line. It has the EMP, but is going to die. Doesn't want to lose it. Smart to at least keep that. But with 1:47 left, this is where the team fight has to work for the side of Underwater Squad as far as with the EMP.
Yeah, and this EMP is going to have to be a big one. I liked the way that they attacked with it when they were on their first attack, which was just taking out those supports. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult when you've got that rally armor on top of it.
Well, he knows where everybody is, too. The biggest thing is just to watch out for the Brig Bash. That's what will stop his ultimate. So Derek is being very patient, looking for this opportunity, and it doesn't catch Ultraviolet, who's able to get out the Transcendence beforehand. Only problem is Dove is out of the fight, so you're without your Zarya. Advantage goes over to the side of Underwater Squad. Self-destruct thrown in here by a hot date to take out Kevin. So there's still an opportunity for the defense to hold under the 60-second mark too, and Joel swings into Icy and now is looking for more. Angelic helping him out. They've turned this fight around. 45 seconds left. You have to escape with whoever's left if you're underwater.
Yeah, and that's going to be a quick escape there for Reptile, just trying to slink away back to the rest of his team. And now you're looking at a dire situation for Underwater Squad. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. They only have a rally. They're going to need to be able to pull something out of their back pocket here in order to be able to take this point. And it's going to be looking at ultimates coming online hopefully late in this fight to be able to turn things around.
And Derek making that switch over to the Zarya as well as a tough switch, because now you kind of reset a lot of things for your team. And it's starting off not going too well for the side of Underwater Squad. Ultraviolet just throws those destruction orbs in. Icy goes and gets the touch, and Trans is used by Panic, but pretty much it is a panic point right now for the side of Underwater Squad. They don't have enough to try and deal with this. Ultraviolet using the Transcendence just to ensure everybody stays alive, but overtime meter goes away. 33%, separating the win here for Square One on this map. But with it, the lowest possibility being a draw Necra, they do end up winning regardless of what
That's
the
true.
outcome is here.
That's very, very true. We are going to play all 4 maps regardless of the outcome. So whether Square One ends up taking this, it's a draw, or what have you. If it is a draw situation, Square One is going to take this series to whatever happens on that 4th map. Otherwise, there's only good things to come from this series for them as of right now, because there is no lose situation here for them. But they're going to be looking at trying to do actually something very similar. Either Dove is going to stay on that Sombra and try to dish out Underwater Squad a taste of their own medicine, or they're just going to utilize that as a scouting technique, because we've seen a lot of teams do that before, either with a Sombra, a Hanzo Sonic Arrow, maybe even a Symmetric Teleporter to try to get somebody up there, maybe Hot Date, to be able to do some scouting. And what they're going to see that Underwater Squad is bringing is that Zen Rhine Goats.
And we did see them do this their last attack too. I think that's a good thing to point out, Necra, is we did see Dove do the same exact thing as what Dove's going to do now.
Yes, and so that's just going to be translocating, getting some sort of information to be able to bring back to his team, and that information is going to be, they're running Zen Rhine Goats. We probably want to run the same thing.
And Dubs makes the switch over to the Zarya. So, like you thought was going to happen, like you predicted, is exactly what happened. So, Zen Goats v Zen Goats, we go again.
Absolutely.
As Jolf is pushing around to the right side, right now, seeing that the high ground is where you have Underwater Squad. Underwater Squad has to come down to the low ground too, because it's only 33%, so they can't even give up 1 tick. Otherwise, they lose this map, and it is not going their way. Baboon tries to make a charge into somebody, but it doesn't work. High charge, Zarya too far away, can't stop the offense, and Square One wins this outright as a 3-0. And of course, we have one more map to go after this Necro, but Square One, they are solidifying themselves as one of the top Contenders Trials teams.
They really are. This series does solidify that for them. They were already second over in the overall standings, only 1 map differential down between them and the top seed, which is Sky Foxes at the moment. And they're having such a dominant performance, and they've shown us in multiple different areas, multiple different tournaments in the tier 3 scene, that Square One knows what's up.
They really do. They have been super impressive ever since we saw them in Open Division as well. They were under a different name at that point. They've continued on. They've added some pieces to this. They're continuing to level up and showing that they're going to be a team to reckon with when they do get into Contenders. Obviously, it's not a for sure thing yet, but with the 4-0, that pretty much all but guarantees them getting in. So this 4-0 win, it's not a 4-0. I'm saying their record is 4-0. They don't have a 4-0 win yet. They have to win a 4th map to do that.
That's true.
But getting to 4-0 as a match record is super huge for them, because you have solidified yourself as a top team. We're going to see that other team too in a little bit in Sky Foxes. But to continue talking about Square One, this is great. Now for the other side in Underwater Squad here, this escort map becomes so important for them when you talk about they are on the brink of being out of trials. It's them and Triumph at the moment who are in that kind of tie for that last spot. So when we go to Rialto here, what is the thought process here to go here for Underwater Squad, and what needs to happen for them to at least get 1 map out of Square One?
So I'm just trying to think. It's possible that Underwater Squad has some sort of pocket DPS that they might be able to bring out for this map specifically. It's also very possible that they just think that Square One's going to do worse on this map than them. And that's what they're looking for here when you're talking about map differential, because you're absolutely right. Underwater Squad is tied with Triumph 1 and 2 right now. And we know now that Underwater Squad's going to be 1 and 3, but that map differential does matter. So taking off as many maps as possible, because the other series have been close, which is why they're only at a -2 map differential without taking this series into account. So They're definitely they're still a strong team.
And when you look at it before coming into this match, -5 is where Triumph was as well. So for Triumph, every map that is lost by Underwater Squad is a gain for them if they can pull any maps off of the teams that they end up playing or winning the games that they end up playing. So just from that perspective, it's so important. And by the way, Square One's one map loss came on Rialto, so that could be part of the decision-making that maybe came in for Underwater Squad too. Regardless, though, right now, they're kind of stuck in their own spawn for the side of Underwater Squad. Derek was close to losing his life, is able to get back in there and stay alive. But this isn't working out really well right now for the side of the team that, well, they are kind of underwater right now because they can't get out of their own spawn. Now they finally pushed their way forward, and Derek and Baboon combine for 2 limbs. Jolf will just throw himself off. So does Angelic. They know that they don't want to give up any more ult charge.
Oh, they definitely don't. And Hot Date's just going to stay there and stall as much as possible. Maybe a little bit of a miscommunication from the team. Knowing that you lost a support early on means that you just don't have the same sustain as what Underwater Squad is going to have, especially because they've got respawn advantage. And poor Ultraviolet!
Ultraviolet again, like you said. So now gone already out of the fight. You just kind of got to wait. Some more free space.
More free space and more ultimate charge coming online for Underwater Squad. The ultimate economy is heavily in their favor right now. Jolf, the only one on Square One that's really close to being able to utilize their ultimate here, and maybe Big Al now too, with that rally coming online as well. But look at how far this has come.
Well, the EMP catches 3, it catches 2 of the supports. Doesn't quite catch everybody, and Jolf aggressing with Hot Date gets Baboon out of the fight. The only problem is that it will allow for 2 of their players to get caught. Their damage dealer in Dub and Ultraviolet. So now it's just a Baby D.Va stalling for as long as possible. And Angelic's like, you know what? I'm gonna go swimming here in the river and just go back, try to get on the gondola. Not really working though.
I mean, that sounds like a better time than what Square One is dealing with at the moment in these team fights. And you're going to see Jolf doing the same thing, too. I guess taking a page out of Angelic's book there, because it does sound like a much better time. But Square One just needs to be able to group up here. And Derek is doing such a good job of putting on the pressure that Square One isn't really able to deal with it at the moment. And Underwater Squad already coming up on more ultimates here. They do have the Sound Barrier and the Brigitte Rally, so they're going to be able to fight back against this Graviton Surge that Dub is coming up against.
And Derek's quickly building up to another EMP. He's at 1 HP right now. Does get a little bit of health from the rally, but still hasn't been healed up enough to really make a difference in the fight. So the grab and self-destruct works perfectly to get your high damage dealer and Icy out of the fight. Transcendence isn't going to save anybody through that, but now they're going to push back in with the EMP regardless. They don't care that they lost. They still have Baboon, who charges into Big Al, who used the rally and stayed alive. So Underwater Squad, thinking they can maybe turn it around, instead just use ults and get nothing for it.
Oh, that was such an expensive push. You had a lot of commitment there from Underwater Squad. I guess they just felt like team fights were going to go in the same favor as they had been. And now, ooh, look at this. Square One's actually going to make a very surprising switch up here. Hot Take going over to the Sombra and Ultraviolet onto the Ana. That's huge. That's very interesting for Square One.
You have to wonder if maybe they think that this could do a little bit better against the composition they're seeing. Only problem is it'll allow for grabs to come out, and Panic and Baboon can take advantage of it first. Ultraviolet does get Derek out from that back line, but the only problem is everybody in front of Derek is in front of Ultraviolet is falling, and Baboon is like, all right, I'll just keep swinging my hammer, throw fire strikes around, and they're going to push through the streets phase fairly quick.
Well, they pushed through point 1 without much pushback from Square One, and they're going to be doing the same here as well for point 2. Now rolling into the 3rd phase of Rialto. This is where Square One really might be able to kind of turn things back around here. I think that Ana has some really nice sight lines here, and getting those massive bio grenades will help them out a lot, but you got to be able to land them behind Baboon's big shield.
Of course, Baboon is pretty good at blocking them so far. Did get caught with a Leonard earlier, but Earth Shatter makes it where he can just push his way in. Don't worry about anti-nades at this point. There's nobody to follow up on it. And now that cart will start to stroll down one more time as they start to approach the final point.
Well, Jolf had to make a tough decision there. Either turn around and deal with the Sombra that is punishing you from the back, or shield your team in the front, and he decided that he was going to be selfless and shield his team. Didn't work out well.
Well, EMP's out on either end. Derek's looks like it might be a little bit bigger, or sorry, his ended up being better because it caught more players, even though Hot Dates was bigger. Jolf with the nano boost just trying to turn it around. Only problem is there's too much damage into him. And now it's just Angelic along with Big Al, and Big Al fires straight away. Dove coming back in. Angelic quickly taken down, and Dove just forced into a corner, and the cart completes its trip through Rialto.
I think that I would have liked to see Square One not switch to the Ana and the Sombra. I think that it was too late. Or
do you
if
think
they were
trying something maybe?
I think that they probably were trying something, and it was just trying to deal with Derek, because I think Derek found his stride on this map with that Sombra play. It was too good, and it hadn't looked that good until we got to this map. So I think that I think Square One was just trying to find a way, any way, to be able to deal with that Sombra pressure in the backline, and figured maybe if we put Ultraviolet on Ana, there might be a better chance of not losing them so early in team fights, because we saw Ultraviolet go down first twice, and that cost them the whole first phase of Rialto because they just didn't have that Discord online.
If you can't protect the Zen and the Zen just continues to fall like that, no point to having the Zen anyways, I guess was maybe their thought.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because we did see Derek play really good on the Sombra on downtown. That was like the only other time where it got some value, but they still ended up losing that map anyway. So it's like, yeah, like Derek is a pretty good Sombra, but to the point where you're forcing switches, I think that's impressive from Derek at the very least to see that happen, even if they're losing this.
Absolutely, but you're not going to see Derek on that Sombra this time on the defense. We're going to see that Zarya, and look at where they're holding from. They're not going to take that classic kind of close hold that teams have been conforming to for the last couple of weeks here. They're just going to be taking the classic hold of being in the courtyard and seeing, but they're just giving up so much space here, Labasco.
They are, and they control the corner is the one thing. So now they can aggress in. Now that the card has gotten to the corner, has to be careful, those Baboon. He wasn't really in a spot to get healed is the only problem, and he falls. So now you end up in a losing fight. Dove is happy to take advantage of that with the high charge that Dove has. And Jolf has charged his way in forward too. So now you have to regroup in your spawn. Well, that card is dangerously close to already getting through the first point.
Yeah, that's the only thing about that hold that I don't like, is because now you really only have one more chance to recontest when you potentially could have had two. But you know they're coming back with a vengeance here. Got that rally and Transcendence online.
And there you go. There comes the rally. Jolf gets stunned out. So does Baboon. Transcendence coming out at the start of the fight. Grab thrown up into the air, and it ends up working. Shatters being used on either end. Players getting stunned out. Another grab coming out now, this time from Dove, and Dove's is better. The self-destruct in desperation and answer doesn't work from Icy. So now this is a winning fight for Square One. They're going to push through this first phase, no problem.
Oh yeah, this is just where they needed to empty their pockets of ultimates, and they ended up getting key ones online after Underwater Squad had already used the counterpart. So that was really how Square One was able to flip this fight in their favor. Ultraviolet already used that Transcendence. They're already going to have another one for this fight. Angelic getting very aggressive to be able to take out Panic, and we're just going to see Ultraviolet outpacing Panic for that Transcendence here, which is going to be very critical as we see both of those Graviton Surges coming back online.
So Ultraviolet, Angelic, the two important alts here to look at. Of course, Derek using his grab to maybe pull one of those alts out is also part of the equation. Sound Barrier gets used first, and in response, you have the grab quickly thrown. They haven't used the Transcendence yet. Ultraviolet getting stunned, though, might be enough to allow for them to win this fight, especially with Reptile getting Ultraviolet out of the fight, so now you don't even have the Trans to use. Use the Shatter in response by Jolf, but it's too little too late. It looks like they do charge Jarek down and out, so they are at least getting some picks. Square One still turning this around even though their ult management didn't go perfectly the way they would have liked.
Maybe that was a strategy, though. Maybe not utilizing the Transcendence there was tactical. It's possible that they have talked about utilizing and saving Transcendence for a different scenario, and this was just not the one that they wanted to utilize it for. And I think it's going to pay off here, because you're about to get really aggressive here with all these ultimates coming up from the US.
And now the self-destruct, though, Jolf gets pushed up into it, so Jolf can't stay alive through that ultimate. Self-destruct thrown right in behind a Baboon, but oh, a great barrier coming out from Derek to keep Baboon alive, and Derek will take Ultraviolet down after the trans. So this is still not going too bad for Underwater Squad. They're still forcing out some time. Even though they're losing this fight again, they are forcing out ults. They forced out a grab here too, wanting to make sure they're going to trans in response to just kill as much time as possible. This is a fight they're probably going to end up losing, but the ultimates that they're getting out, Necro, are huge.
They are huge. They caught the Graviton Surge out of the way, but look at this. Square One has been doing so much work that it's almost like that doesn't matter anymore, because they have the 50% to another Graviton again. They have the Diva Bomb. That Fire Strike was huge. They're going to have an Earth Shatter as well. Look at this aggression here from Square One. This is what we were talking about. Jolf has so much support from the tanks on the team and the supports in this lineup, that he's able to be aggressive in ways that Underwater Squad really can't. But they're able to fight back here, getting into this smaller corridor, the final corridor of Rialto. Baboon is looking to get a nice angle for that Earth Shatter.
Baboon, of course, looking for his opportunity as well. He gets pushed away from the self-destruct of his own team. His team gets caught in a grab. Their grab got eaten too, I think I just saw as well. So this not going well at all for Underwater Squad. 3:18 left to go. Slightly bigger time bank is going to come through. Well, Panic is like, you know what? I'm going to stall for as long as possible. I have my ultimate. So a little bit more time will come off. They're going to throw the sound barrier in, and it does keep the Diva alive, at least for the moment. So they are going to be able to get some stall tactics out to at least make this take a little bit longer for the side of Square One. So even though they know they're going to lose this fight, they still are taking time, such important and vital time that could be the difference. So slightly larger time bank for Square One, but it's not as large as it could have been, but it wouldn't have been that much bigger anyways. Maybe 20, 30 seconds larger than what it is now, which is at 2:49. So 4-second difference it ends up being.
And that's really not that big of a difference. Like, that is minuscule in terms of what you're capable of doing within that time. But, you know, we're going to see now both of these teams taking it to the streets again. They're going to be trying it one more time. And I gotta say that I think that Square One had the upper hand in the last couple phases of Rialto, just because of how well Ultraviolet has been doing on that Zenyatta. And you know how we've been having some trouble with colors during this broadcast? Ultraviolet hasn't. They've been popping on those Discord orbs, really communicating with the team what needs to be done, and I've seen so many assists from them, so much follow-up that they're getting a ton of value.
Well, the ultraviolet rays are not in their eyes, apparently, which is good. You don't want that to happen. It's kind of not a good thing to have. You know, that's why you have UV protection, you know, ultraviolet protection. But that Derek has sort of been the answer to any ultraviolet protection there could be on Sombra, and that's what we're going to get from him again. We know how big he was on their last attack on this character to deal with the Zen.
Yeah, and look at this too. Square One's actually going to be taking the same defensive position that Underwater Squad did. Dove is able to get a lot of charge for their weapon from a spam damage that's coming in from Underwater Squad, but this rotation is beautiful from Square One.
Derek not able to get the hack on Jolf, was looking for Ultraviolet, but Ultraviolet is playing a little bit closer to his team this time, making sure that if he does end up getting hacked or anything, that his team can at least get to him a little bit better. Derek's still looking for that hack, and Hot Date in a perfect position to force Derek away. So Derek not building this EMP as quickly as last time on their attack. Hot Date able to take advantage of this and come back into the fight when Baboon was low. And now you have to run back towards your spawn if you're Underwater Squad. 2 minutes left to go. And Derek falls to the micro missiles.
Wow, that I mean, yeah, you gotta run back to your spawn, but that really only works if you're able to get there. Icy, though, looking at some high charge, high value, actually outpacing Dove right now in terms of where that Zarya Graviton is, and that could really swing a fight, especially because we've got 1 minute, a little bit over 30 seconds left on the clock, and that can matter. But Dove with a quick pick.
And Hot Date winds up getting hacked there in the back. Doesn't matter because they're winning the battle up front again. So you win the battle up front, it's okay. Didn't use any ultimates. Derek does have EMP now. This is where the difference comes in. Do you know that the EMP is there? Hot Date's doing the spy checking, but you still get a big EMP at Necra. This swings all in favor of the team on offense.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be a big MP in terms of numbers because we saw how they were able to make that work on Volskaya Industries. Derek just needs to get the right targets in that EMP, and those targets are going to be Ultraviolet. And Ultraviolet's done a great job of staying out of it.
Well, they got spotted out when he was going towards that backline. It was the Brigitte, and their response is using their grav. No Diva can eat that because Derek is normally the one, well, switches over to the Zarya, and then Icy goes to the Diva. So because of that, they're able to grab for free, use their ultimates, and they're still keeping this payload in that same spot with 30 seconds left.
Well, now Icy gets to fight back with their own Graviton Surge, so Ultraviolet and Angelic are going to need to be able to stay out of the range of that EMP because you know Derek is looking to mitigate those ultimates here, so it's huge!
And because of that, Hot Date has been spy checking, so you're able to just use that EMP ult with no problem on all the targets you're looking for, and they win this fight. So Hot Date not in a position to do anything about the grab, makes it where Icy uses it for free.
Oh, yeah. And that was a beautiful combination there with that EMP. Now it's overtime, though, Labasco. All that Square One needs to do here is bully them off the cart with their ultimates, and they've got 4. And so Transcendent's coming in for aggression.
Oh, Ultraviolet, I think just in response to hearing the Sombra use this ult, Hot Date goes into the lake! Hot Date goes into the river. You lost your Diva. This is the opportunity now for Underwater Squad. Missing the charge is Joel. Transcendence and Sound Barrier used on either side respectively, and Reptile still has his Sound Barrier, so they can push in aggressively into Joel. He gets engulfed by this GOATS composition that's coming out here. Well, of course, with Derek too on the Sombra, but regardless, you're still on to the opportunity to win this fight. Angelic, the only one left, and Joel to try and hold this. Grab or Shatter to use, doesn't matter. They're going to get this first point.
Oh my goodness. Underwater Squad looking like a true chupacabra, picking out that GOATS comp, right?
yeah. They were able to chew that up a little bit. I called it that they were using a GOATS comp, but I don't know what you call it. I guess chupacabra works. That's how you want to eat it up with the EMPs.
Oh yeah, I mean, the EMPs just have been really good for Underwater Squad at the moment, but it's still overtime. This is still a situation where that wick has been going for so long that if anybody steps off that point, Square One's going to be able to stop this cart in its tracks, and Dove's coming back with that, ooh, that grab!
Oh, Derek got stunned, I think, out of the EMP too, so you don't even get EMP in the fight. So it's completely a lost fight with players still up to for Underwater Squad. The good thing is, though, Necra, they still did get past that first point. The time banks were similar and it took them overtime to even get there.
It did, and remember that it looked like at the very beginning of that round the Underwater Squad was struggling to get that cart to progress forward, but they were able to get on that momentum that they needed to really start rolling, and we're able to make it to that point, and that's actually a great spot for them to be. If Underwater Squad, because Square One ends up with a similar time bank and a similar amount of chances to be able to get to that point, if Underwater Squad's able to just kind of keep them at bay for a couple team fights like they did, they're in a phenomenal position. And
they're playing with our hearts, Necra. Well, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not.
I don't think they are. Labasco, they're leaving spawn with this. This looks like an East Coast special.
The East Coast special. For those of you who are not familiar with it, maybe you're West Coast, I don't know. Regardless, you have the Symmetra, the Bastion, the Anna, the Mercy, the Orisa, and the Widowmaker. So basically, you can move Kevin around with yes, it's cheese, but it's also you can move Kevin around with Icy's portals. So if you try to dive on, you really can't get there. So this is clearly getting scouted out fairly quickly by the side of Square One. So now Square One has to decide how they want to answer it. It looks like they're going to go with the Sombra and the Genji, and they're going to go dive.
Oh yeah, they're going true Cyber Ninja here. They're looking to be able to seal this out with a nano boosted EMP Genji blade. And that's basically how you want to handle this. But,
Dove almost got caught. Derek was a little late putting out his mine. He would have caught Dove, but Dove now is in a position to do something.
Yeah, with Jolf in tow too.
Oh, and now comes that nade, and it's massive! And Baboon and Icy quickly fall. You do have on the other side the Bastion, but I think he's just gonna, maybe Kevin's gonna maybe try and build up some ult, try and stall. Doesn't work out too well. So even though they didn't really get anything out of that, they did make this, there's only a minute 45 left.
There is only a minute 45 left, but that's still a lot of time to be able to make something happen. But as that cart progresses forward, they're not really on the momentum that they need to. And what I mean by that is they don't have ultimates to be able to continue to push forward with if they're able to get value. But full swap up here for Underwater Squad. We're going to see a little bit of a Super McCree comp with a Winston, Baboon on his favorite hero.
Yeah, generally Super McCree was originally with Winston anyways, and Jolf coming in with the nano boost doesn't care about if there's a McCree because he's going on to Panic, who can't do anything by himself. So good dive comes through, the cart just continues to roll, and there's a minute left to go. And now you just have to regroup if you're the side of Underwater Squad. You don't want to get caught out here because you're not a full 6. You still have distance that you can deal with if you can win a team fight.
And this is a critical point too, because this cart did end up making it to this first point. The respawns are going to be closer for Square One now than Underwater Squad, so Underwater Squad really can't get caught out here. So excellent ability to be able to back off, but now they're moving forward.
EMP self-destruct, and it's a double kill. Awesome combo coming through with Hot Date, who's been an awesome diva throughout this, eaten a lot of grabs, done a lot of other things. Jol finishing off with the Primal Rage onto the ulting use of the McCree. So Square One complete the 4-0 here, Necra, and solidify themselves at the top with Sky Foxes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, just the value that Hot Date was able to get from that EMP Diva Bomb. I really thought it was going to be the Nano Blade that was able to take this, but it doesn't matter if you don't have that ultimate online anyway. But this was phenomenal gameplay from both of these teams. I think that I would like to see Underwater Squad moving forward try some different compositions, because Derek really shines on that hit scan DPS. That is his preferred role, and you saw him get so many headshots with that Widowmaker and that McCree, and they were able to do a lot of damage there. So if you could find a way to make that work, I think that would be a very strong suit for Underwater Squad.
It's kind of unfortunate that the meta sort of dictates that Goats is still the strongest composition. There's some maps where you can make other compositions work, but it's still difficult. Like, we've seen teams try some quad and triple DPS. We haven't really seen it in trials as much, but we've seen it at some of the tier 3 levels. Teams are seeing if it can do something. It just still isn't enough to really beat out a really good Goats team, and that's what you have on the side of Square One. So for Underwater Squad, they're still in this really tough spot where they need to keep getting these wins. They don't get any map wins here. Really tough for them, but there are players on this team that are tier 2 players. It feels like that we've seen. I mean, I think that's one thing that they know for sure, but they want to be a trials team. They don't even care whether their academy teams are going to get them or not. But Square One, I mean, what can you say about them, Necra? They continue to shine here in this Contenders trials.
They really do, and I just want to commend them for the team coordination that they have. And I know that they're feeling so good coming off of their second place in the Open Division playoffs, because they had a stellar run. We didn't even see them go into the losers bracket at all of Open Division playoffs. They were meant to be there, and they're showcasing now why they are one of the top Contenders trials teams in the NA region. They want that contender spot so badly. All these players want that, because that's just the next step on the Overwatch path to pro.
Well, and you talk about teams that want to cement themselves as something. Sky Foxes is the team that we have coming up next against Bermuda. So that's going to be one that I think is going to be really interesting to watch.